Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our June 26th Zoom mini crop. And we've been doing this for a lot of weeks now and having lots of fun and sharing lots of ideas, which is awesome. And today I am going to treat you to what I am calling a Sheri original design. And this is something, basically it's a mashup of a couple of different ideas that I have seen on Pinterest or on Instagram, and then kind of tweaked and modified. So we're just going to roll with it today. I do have some basic measurements, but this is also a really great card for using up scraps. Not that most cards aren't good for using up scraps, but especially when it comes to our rainbow, if you've got scraps of cardstock, this is an absolutely fabulous technique, and you can modify it and extend it or shrink it however you need. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to lower my camera a little bit so we're a little bit closer. There we go. And make sure we focus. All right, we are good to go. I do have the chat open for all of you who are watching us live. If you are watching on replay, don't hesitate to comment on the YouTube video or send me an email at customerservice@craftersworkshop.ca. So today we are making a slimline card, but we're going to add some little interactive elements to it as well. We've had a lot of requests for slimline. I think it's one of those new trends, or maybe not so new trends, because slimlines I think have been out for, or really picking up steam for about a year now, but sometimes it gets a little boring to just do the usual side fold kind of card. But slimlines can be difficult because you don't have a big enough piece to do a straight fold, or maybe you just, not quite sure how to modify those things. So I'm just going to remove my little rainbows out of the way here. These are pieces I'm going to use later for decorating. And this is going to be for our pop-up element. So we'll come back to that. So I am starting today with 2 pieces of cardstock that I am going to attach together to make a top folding slimline. My black piece is 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches, which is a pretty common slimline size, mostly because if you're using an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock to start with, then this is just an easy cut at 3.5. My little fold up piece is a little bit narrower, so it's only 3.25 inches wide, because I'm deciding to have a little border showing around my outside edges. You could very easily have made that the full 3.5 inches and not be worried about it. If you're going to do that though, you're going to want to extend it by 1/4 inch as well, because I'm going to show you why. I'm going to take this piece here and just put it aside. I'm using my flap part, which is the 3.25 by 8.5. And my scoreboard. I am simply going to score a tiny little 1/4 inch fold right at the top. And that's what's going to make our fold onto our card base. Now, again, if you prefer to have a slightly larger fold, that's no problem. You would just have to adjust your length just that little bit more. But I'm just going to score here at 1/4 inch. Easy peasy. We will need the scoreboard later on, but for right now, you can tuck it aside. Now, I think I'm going to do one. Let me just double check first to make sure that this was right. So now I do have a little tiny border on my left, on my top, and on my right. But oops, I didn't. So you probably should have scored that at 1/2 inch, not 1/4 inch. And even on my notes, I said 1/2 inch. So clearly we're off to a fantastic start, but there's an easy fix. I'm just going to trim 1/4 inch off the bottom here. Always fixable, right? Okay. My apologies for starting off with a boo-boo, or let me rephrase that. an opportunity to be creative. Okay, so now when I put this on my card, I've got a nice black border all the way around. But before I attach it, just in case there are any more opportunities for creativity, I'm not going to attach it just yet. We are now going to build a rainbow out of our 1.5 by 3-inch scraps of rainbow cardstock. I think in the email I asked you to do 2. I just happened to do 3 along the way in case we need extra. But this is a really cool technique, and I really like it, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Our swatches are just a little bit narrower than our white. That way we've got a nice white border showing around it. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up to the top, because I want that top one to be the top. So we're going to be overlapping paper, and I want the top layer to be the top overlap. So if we think about our rainbow, which is Roy G. Biv, I didn't ask you to do any indigo. So we've got red, orange, green. No, I missed the Y. Wow, it's going to be a fun day. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. You should have 6 different colors. So I'm going to start backwards and go this way. I'm going to start on my violet or my purple. Now this is where you want your paper trimmer, because we are going to cut these on the diagonal. So I'm just going to start with one, and we can cut as we go along. And I am lining up those diagonal corners with the edge of my blade. See if you can see that there. And I'm just going to snip it in half. Try and get as close to those corners as you can. If you happen to miss, like I did, just a little smidge there, not a big deal. So this piece is going to glue on here, and I'm going to flip this over, and this piece is going to glue on here. And we're going to make this little chevron shape on our rainbow. So I'm just going to use, I've got this Nuvo glue pen. I like it for something like this because it's got a nice wide tip. I can get this glued down pretty quickly. Absolutely, you could use whatever adhesive you like. It does not need to be strong. It just needs to be easy. So I'm going to leave a little white border. I'm going to put down my first piece. And then again, this triangle is just flipping over, so it's going the opposite direction. And you can just line all of that up. So that it's making this chevron type shape on the bottom. We're now going to go to our next color, which will be blue, and repeat. So I need to take my blue piece. I need to cut it on the diagonal. And I seem to keep missing that corner. I'll have to be more conscious of that next time. Come on. So this one is going to glue over top of the purple, allowing for just a little bit of that purple to be peeking through. And we're just going to repeat that all the way up to that top fold. So if you're ambitious and you want to go ahead and keep going with all of our colors, go right ahead. I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch, maybe between a 1/2 and a 1/4 inch gap here. Again, totally up to you if you want it to be wider or narrower. You could also do like 2 purple, 2 blue, if you wanted even wider strips, but with more dimension. I'm just not sure exactly how many we're going to need to get all the way to the top. So I feel like I'm just going to repeat once I get through the 6 colors. All right, snick, snick, snick. So like I said, this is a very easy technique to do a rainbow, or you could just do alternating colors. You could do like red, blue, or for Canada Day, red, white. And you simply have to make sure that your width is what you want it and focus on these rectangles. I guess in theory, you could do them with squares as well. And there I just did it on the wrong side. So I will save that one for later and try again. Do. And remember, this time I'm going to do it on that side. And it's nice that you can just line up those edges, line up the corner. And if you happen to be off just a little bit, you know that the next layer is going to cover it up. Okay, so I did green, I need yellow. And so on. A little bit of bright color in our not so bright day. And you know, if you really wanted to get funky, you could get out your scalloped border punch and do a scalloped pattern on that edge. Okay, make sure I glue this on the right side. I love how this is coming together. This is awesome. And once again, if you, what I like to give you guys tips and ideas on things that you can prep ahead while you're watching TV or watching movies. You could make a whole bunch of these little rectangles, cut them in half into their triangles, even build your rainbow, and then you can build your cards later on. And it looks like we're going to be able to get 2 rounds of the rainbow as we go up to the top. Okay, remember the right side. Whoops, and now I'm throwing things. Okay. Got some glue on my fingers, so let me just. Okay. And now I need some red. And this one is, oh, hang on. I guess the only thing that would, if you were going to use pattern paper, by flipping it over, you're going to have different patterns on left and right. But you could always plan, you know, do a couple of sets of triangles and cut them, cut one set on one diagonal, the other set on the other diagonal, so that you have the same patterns. And flip. And now we're going to go back to our start and repeat again. So I'm going to just do one more set of rainbow, and even if I don't get all the way to the top, I will move on to the inside of the card just so that we can see how this finishes. While I've got my trimmer, let's cut everything at the same time. And I've got my green already, so now I need a yellow. Orange. And come on, orange, get out of the way. Red. Okay, I've got my pieces cut. Let's quickly get this rainbow rocking. It almost gives it a braided look, which is kind of cool. Now, because you've got lots of layers, definitely my recommendation is to keep it flat, not using foam squares or anything like that. Otherwise, it's going to be, 2 inches thick by the time you get to the end. And I just did that again. See what happens when you don't have enough coffee in the morning. All right, so flip. It's a good thing we're just using up scraps, because that way I don't worry about wasting anything. So blue is next. I'm hoping everybody is doing okay with me here. I see a few nodding heads and thumbs up, so that's always reassuring. There's blue. And green is next, so I'll come back. Luckily, this is still sticky. I don't even have to add glue. Now let's get this one the correct way. Flip. Nope. Okay, then yellow. Make sure it's right and flip. And then orange. Get it here and then flip. Sticky fingers. And red. Flip. Okay, we're almost to the top here. My next color would be purple, and since I already have one cut and glued, I'm going to put that one down as well. And flip. Oops, that one's way off. There we go. Okay, how many more do we think we need? Blue, green, yellow. Let's see if we can quickly finish up. I'm gonna do 3 more since we're almost at the top there. And you know what? These guillotine trimmers, they are good at cutting multiple layers. However, when I'm trying to get those corners precise, I don't like it when it slides, which sometimes happens doing multiples, which is why I've just kept them all singles. All right, so I need blue. Oh, wow, what an impactful look when it's all done. Pretty happy about this. Okay, get the right side. And flip. And yellow looks like it will finish it off. There we go. Wow, that's awesome. I love that. Now that still leaves a fairly big piece of yellow there. If you really wanted to, you could continue trying to layer them on and just trim off the top. But I think for time as well as ease of completion, I'm really loving how this looks. So I'm going to stop there. Now you could trim this piece off to mirror your sentiment, or what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my, sorry, I said mirror your sentiment, mirror your rainbow. I'm actually going to put my sentiment in there, but it looks like I've got a little fingerprint in there. So let me try and clean that up. Well, there we go. Okay, so I do have some tiny little sentiments here from Photoplay. Their Say It With Stamps line. And I think, gotta find one that's gonna fit. Let me do You the Best. A nice tiny one in there. And I'm just gonna do it with black ink and just kind of, yeah, because some of these still are a little bit, oh, Make-A-Wish might. No, I think You the Best is still the best one to go in there. The other thing you could do is you could stamp the sentiment first, and then that way you know where your braid starts and build it up from there. But just nice and easy. Ta-da! Okay. Now that the front of our card is done and we have it the way we like it, now we can attach it to our card base. Now I will, full disclosure, I actually layered 2 pieces of black cardstock together just to make it a little bit sturdier. But you could I mean, one layer is usually fine. That's what we would have on a normal card base, so it's not a big deal. I'm gonna grab my skinny score tape, which is buried here, and I'm just gonna run a strip of score tape across that little scored area here. I guess I should just check in and make sure everybody's doing well, everybody's caught up. I see some nodding heads, which is good. If you need me to go over anything, please don't hesitate to let me know. Or if I'm going too fast, I can slow down as well. Okay, so just some skinny score tape along this little fold that we made at the top. Give it a little rub to make sure everything sticks. I'm now going to fold that flap down, kind of eyeball, and I may even stand up for this because it's nice to see over top. Keeping that flap folded, I'm going to peel that backing and stick it down. So now we have our top folding slimline, just like so. But that's only part of what I want to show you today. This is where the fun really takes off, in that you can combine different formats within one card. So here you could just do it like this and be done and say, you know what, I love this card. I'm just going to put something in here so I can write the sentiment down on it and be done. But I'm going to show you how to create a little pop-up box to add even more interactivity to this. So we're going to take this card now and tuck it aside. And we are now going to move on to our piece of cardstock that was 3 by 6 1/4. And this is where we need our scoreboard again. I've chosen to do it in black just so that it's kind of blending in with my card underneath, but you could make it any color you want. I do have a teeny bit of glue here that I'm just going to remove. All right, scoreboard. As I said, this piece was 3 by 6 1/2. We are going to do some very basic score lines. Put your paper in your scoreboard horizontally. I'll just give you guys a minute to have all that ready. And we are going to simply score 1 1.5 inches, so 1.5 inches all the way along.
What size is that paper again?
It is 3 by 6 1/2.
Thank you.
No problem at all.
And where are we scoring?
We're going to score all the way along this edge 1.5 inches apart. So we're going to score at 1.5. We're going to score at 3. We're going to score at 4.5. And we're going to score at 6. So once again, 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. Essentially what we're making is a little, I'm going to call it a square tube that we are going to put inside our card. So if you were doing this on your own and you were making up your own measurements, what you want to do is figure out how tall you want your pop-up to be. A good 1 to 1.5 inches gives you something really sturdy to work with without it being too flimsy, and making sure that your pop-up element actually stands up. But you could always do it a little bit deeper as well. And then, so that is your length. You're going to do that 4 times plus a little bit extra to create a little flap to attach it together. Your width is simply how wide your card is. So I want this to nest inside my white card. So I've just kept it at that 3-inch mark. There will be a little bit of a border or a buffer left and right that I'll have to center, but no problem there. Okay, so scoreboard can go away. And I'm just going to fold along these lines to make my little tube. My tape, and I'm going to use score tape to make sure it all stays together, is simply going to go on this extra little 1/2-inch panel that was left over at the end. That little tab really is just to keep this tube all together. And if my tape is a little bit narrower than my space, I like to do it right along that score line so that it holds right at the fold. And there we go. Okay, so give that a burnish. I'm going to take this piece now, flip it over. So just flip it towards me. This is our center fold. And so I'm going to fold over that first panel. Actually, no, I'm going to do it the other way. This 1/2-inch fold, I'm going to fold over. Peel the tape. So now this tape piece is just to the left of the center. And I'm going to fold this in on top of itself. And it should be a nice, perfect, flat square in this case. And then it can just pop up to make your tube. I always find that the easiest way that you're working on a flat surface, you fold over the piece with the tape first, fold over the top flap. You know everything's going to lie flat, which is what we want it to do inside the card. And then it can just pop up. Okay, now we just have to put it inside of our card. So it's going to nest right along that score line there. And it'll attach to our flap so that when it folds down, it folds flat. When it lifts up, it pops up. So on 2 sides, 2 of these rectangle panels, we're going to put our tape. And again,
Can you hold the your little box up to the camera?
Absolutely.
And where was the tape now?
So the tape was on the little 1/2-inch panel.
Okay. And it's on the inside.
And it's on the inside.
Okay.
That way it's all hidden and you just see your box. Once it's on the inside, once you have your box, it does this next step, it really does not matter which panels you put the tape on, as long as they're 2 panels side by side, because this is a square. So it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to put tape on the outside. I'm going to put tape along the fold. I'm going to put tape along the fold again, but on the other side. And tape along that outside edge. So now we have that square looking like this. I'm now going to fold my box the other way. So now I have the tape on the top and on the back. I hope that makes sense. So originally when we taped it, it looked like this. I'm just going to push it up 1 fold like this, because this is how we're going to attach it inside our card. So let's peel the back one first. And we're going to align this fold here just underneath the score line on your card. So you don't want to be jammed right on top of the score line. You want to be down just a little bit. Make sure you're centered left to right. And then push it down. So now it should be able to move like this. And now we're going to peel the other tape. And I'm going to close my lid down on top of it. So now it opens up. So when you look at your card sideways, it looks like an upside down V with that little box in the crease. And then the last thing we have to do is just attach something to that little pop-up. So I have a leftover card from my little Nomi from last week and some polka dot paper. This piece is 3 inches, so I don't want this piece to be any wider than 3 inches. So let's trim that down. And I'm going to do my piece 3 by 4. And I'm going to take my surprise Nomi and I'm just going to trim a little sliver off around all 4 sides so that those polka dots show. And I'm not measuring this, I'm just eyeballing, taking a little sliver off each side. That's gonna go on here. And stick. And then as with all interactive cards, the absolute key is where you put the glue. So when I put tape on the back of my gnome here, I only want it on the bottom half, or I could put my tape on here. Maybe that's a smarter move. So I'm just going to take a few pieces of tape. And put it on this front panel of my box. Like so. Remove the tape. And now my card, I want to make sure that this base is right against the card base. So I'm going to kind of push it down here like so. And can you let me do it like that so you can see? And I'm just going to slide it up until it touches my box. I need to come to the right just a little bit. And then stick it down. So there's our front. And we open it up and there's our pop-up. Ta-da! Surprise! There's a gnome inside your card. And I can take, you know, some of these little sentiments and put them down here. You could add some white cardstock if you used a darker color, just so you've got somewhere to write. You could build in all kinds of accents from your rainbows and have a really awesome, cheerful rainbow card. So I'll just let you ladies catch up for a minute, or any gents who may be watching as well. I think we're all ladies on here today, but sometimes we have gents watching on replay, which is amazing. And as we're finishing up, I just want to, you know, as always, say thank you. We've been doing these Zoom mini classes for well over a year now, and I think you're all enjoying them, and hopefully I'm bringing you some fun stuff to go along with it. While I have you all here, if you like this whole craft along idea, we're going to be doing a craft along in July. I believe it is July 24th, so just less than a month from today. It's called a Saturday Night Craft Along, and we are going to be using this really fun kit from Hunky Dory. So I just wanted to show you everything that came in it, and hopefully you'll want to craft along with me. So there are a bunch of these little toppers, as they call them in the kit. There is, I've got them organized so that I can make my sample cards or plan my cards for you. But these are nice because they just punch out, and you can do all kinds of different fun things with this. We did some Christmas cards, I think, with these, obviously back before Christmas. But there's also some extra paper. There's also extra cardstock. There's the bunnies. There's some more cardstock. There's beautiful backgrounds. There's, look at these florals. You get a ton of paper. So we'll be making probably 6 to 8 cards in the craft along, but you will have tons of pieces left over to make even more. So those are all the different cards. You also get this fun magazine from Hunky Dory that has all kinds of additional ideas and inspiration that you can copy or modify, but it doesn't end there because you also get an embossing folder. You get a adorable little stamp set, and you get a die. And so that class is available on our website. I believe it's $35 for our Saturday night craft along, and I would love to have you join us. So just go and find it on our website. If you search craft along, you will find the kit. So kind of like a Saturday morning Zoom, amped up, but on Saturday night. So with that, I am going to close off for the day. Next weekend is the Canada Day long weekend. So we will not be having a mini Zoom, but you've got lots of choices to go back and watch on replay, and we will resume in the next week in July. So thank you.